Okay, this is a reaction video. This is from Diane Jennings. She did 10 lies that Europeans are told about Americans, and which I did, and this is the opposite way, the other way. 10 lies Americans are told about Europe. Please click like, share, and subscribe for her. And please click like, share, and subscribe for me. Let's see what's going on with 10 lies Americans are told about Europe.
People don't go to work. Well, sometimes they do. There are very specific reasons you strip off your clothes in front of somebody. So today I'm going to be looking at the reverse of a list that I did previously on this channel that you guys asked for. These are lies that Americans are told about Europeans. Now, obviously I'm Irish, I'm a European, so I can only come at it from my perspective.
Who else's perspective would you come at it from?
Whenever I make these lists, they are generalizations. That's where we're coming from. We're talking about en masse things that people believe. Invariably, Billy Bob will come into the comments and say, well, I'm from America and I don't believe that about Europeans. Yeah.
There's not a lot of people named Billy Bob in America. That's usually could be considered a offensive generalization of a Southerner, but I digress. Let's get back to this.
Billy Bob. This is not a specifically Billy Bob list. They're generalizations, stereotypes, there are reasons, commonalities among people. Before I get into today's video, do be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, next time you have a really important thing to look up on the internet, your Wi-Fi will go, and you don't have 3G/4G/5G/25G, whatever people are using these days. To avoid such an inconvenience, like, share, comment, subscribe. Okay, the first lie that I think Americans are told about Europe or come to believe is that we hop as easily between countries as you guys do between states.
I don't. Well, that is something that, you know, the Euro, the trains going from country to country. I never really thought that. Even though when I was over there, I was only in Germany. I didn't go to France or Belgium or Holland or any place else, or Netherlands. I would think now when I was in Alaska and we went into Canada, we had to have our passports. We had to show our passports. So I think it's probably similar.
Since going to America, I have discovered that states in America are in some ways comparable to countries in Europe in that you have your own laws and stuff, but traveling from country to country is not as easy as traveling from state to state. Generally speaking, you are crossing an ocean to go to an entirely different country. You have to have your passport, there are border controls, and they are closed borders. They're not like open borders. For example, you can travel from the Republic of Ireland to the north of Ireland, which is part of Britain, very easily without passport checks, but you cannot travel from the Republic of Ireland to England that easily. It's not like super impossible, but it's just not as easy as going from, say, Idaho to New York. The next lie that Americans are...
Idaho's on one side of the country, New York's on the other. You'd have to get on a plane to do that, especially if you're just traveling from state to state. But, yeah, it's not a big deal. You get on a plane in Boise, you land in New York, get off, you're fine. And that's in all 50 states. But I never thought that it was just that simple and that easy because, you know, crossing the border to another country, you have to have a passport. You have to have rules and regulations.
Told about Europe is that each country is as distinct as it is in the movies. So, for example, when somebody goes to France, / they only really ever go to Paris in movies, you never see them go anywhere else, like Marseille. It's always Paris.
Yeah, it almost always is Paris. In England, it's usually London. Germany, it's Berlin. Spain, it's Madrid or Barcelona. Yeah, I can see that.
I am très excitée to be here.
Everybody in France in movies and TV shows dresses a certain way, eats.
And I guess I was kind of the same way because we had an opportunity to go to either Munich or Berlin when we were in Germany. We went to Berlin.
A certain way and acts a certain way. The depiction of Ireland is that we're all living in rural Ireland in thatched cottages, and that we are just surrounded by fields of grass constantly, and that we're all drunk all the time. The last one, culturally, yeah, drinking is a big thing in Ireland, but I would also say, like, people don't go to work drunk. Well, sometimes they do.
There's these green fields, and there's us. Whatever that is, it holds me here.
In reality, reality, globalization is a huge thing. Places are very similar, especially cities. If you go to Dublin City, it's not super different from New York City. The shops are even very similar. French people don't walk around holding baguettes, and Irish people don't all play the violin.
Well, I mean, yeah, that you're talking about we're talking about generalization, what we may think about Europeans, but no, I never thought any of that stuff that she's saying right there. There probably are Americans who do, because look, when I went over there again, only in Germany, it was no different, at least in terms of what the people looked like, what they dressed, and how they, it was just like everything else. It wasn't that dissimilar from how people react in America. The only difference really was, apart from the language, was the architecture was different, and I think that there were certain cultural things. I think we might get in later in the video that were noticeable, but for the most part, everybody seemed not too dissimilar from walking around in America.
The next lie Americans are told about Europe, and this is a big one, it's that everything is cheaper in Europe.
No, it isn't.
I think there's a conception that America is the most expensive country in the world, and that everywhere else things are going to be cheap, which is...
No, I don't understand this one a whole lot, because I never thought things would be cheaper in Europe. When you take $120 American, or I think it's what I did, $120 American, exchange it for euros, and I get like 80 euros or something like that. The exchange rate, this was back in 2006, and it's probably not much different now. I don't know. I haven't checked the exchange rate. No, things are not cheaper in Europe. I wasn't expecting that to be the case. In fact, I've heard actually the opposite. People in Europe are amazed at how cheap things are in America, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. That's just the way it is. But no, I never thought things would be cheaper in Europe. I've never heard that, or I've never believed that.
Is actually not the case.
I can't afford this.
There are certain things in America that do blow my mind how expensive they are. I'm gonna touch on it. Healthcare. Your healthcare is crazy. I saw
our healthcare is what it is, but it's based on capitalism. It's based on things like that. But what you need to understand about the American healthcare system, if you can't afford it, that's all right. I mean, if you need treatment, if you go to a medical center and you have no insurance, but they need to treat you, they'll still treat you, okay? And you won't have to pay for it. So that is something that, now, for most people who have insurance, they'll give it their insurance card, and the insurance will pay for it, and they'll have deductibles and things like that. But I don't think that if you're have no insurance and no money and you get hurt real bad, that they won't treat you or anything like that. That's just not the case.
Recently somebody's hospital bill, and they were charged like $350 for paracetamol. Also, hair salons in America are crazy expensive.
Now, hair salons I do agree with. Now, and by the way, go back to the healthcare thing. I'm sure that other people will tell me stories, and probably a lot of them are going to be in the comments below. But for the majority of things that I've heard, and I do know some people who didn't have insurance, and they were still treated at a hospital. So take that for what it's worth. But hair salons are definitely expensive in the United States. There's no question about that. Just to get your hair done. I was out in Los Angeles, and I saw a simple haircut was like $85 at one place. I remember seeing that. They go, who the hell's going to pay $85 for a haircut?
From what I've seen on TikTok and YouTube, I saw somebody talking about doing highlights for $250 for a head of highlights. So there are things that are more expensive, but other things like food, eating out, stuff like that, they're very, very similar in price in a lot of places. Now, of course, if you go to a small village in Poland, it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than it would be in Dublin. And the same is true of city and country in America. If you go to a restaurant in Middle America, it's going to be cheaper than if you go to a restaurant in Hollywood, California.
Well, look, if you go out to Hollywood, California, depends on where you are in California too, but the thing about California is just way too more expensive than it needs to be. It is so overpriced, so overtaxed, and probably has maybe one of the worst governors in the United States, in my opinion. Okay, take that for what it's worth. There are other places, but yeah, if you're in say, place like Columbus, Ohio, or if you go to Lexington, Kentucky, or even places like in Montana and South Dakota, where I've been before, it is much cheaper than New York City or California.
Also, since the whole Ukraine thing has happened, it's had a massive knock-on effect to the price of goods. Supermarkets are super expensive in Europe right now, and I don't know if you've heard, but electricity bills are going through the roof here. I actually had my patrons.
There's actually a reason for that, but I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to be too political when I'm doing these videos.
Explain why the cost of things in the supermarket have gone higher. They were telling me it's all about transport and gas and oil, and it all made a lot of sense to me. So thanks to the guys for explaining that to me. The next misconception I think Americans have about Europeans is that everybody in Europe is healthy and skinny.
Now, I saw that when I was over there, that not everybody, everybody, again, were different shapes, different sizes. I saw skinny people, I saw fat people, I saw in-between people, I saw fat men, fat women, the whole nine yards. It was just, like I said, it was not that too dissimilar from walking around the United States. Now, some people think in the United States we're all obese and all eat fast food and everything like that. That's just not the case. There is a lot of healthy people in the United States, but the generalization is that we get fast food all the time, and that was, I think, was said in the previous video. It's just not the case.
This one actually came from a lot of you guys. Years ago, you said this to me on a poll that I was running on, I think it was Twitter, or maybe it was my community section on YouTube. There is a misconception that everybody in Europe rides bikes around the place all the time, and because we walk a lot more than our American counterparts.
I never thought that. I mean, I didn't see a whole lot of bike riding in Germany, but I saw a lot of people on the trains. And I thought the train system in Europe was a hell of a lot better than what a non-existent train service in the United States. I mean, you get on a train and it takes you to where you need to go, and you can save money on gas, and you don't have to even own a car. But no, like I said, I saw all different shapes and sizes of people. The other thing I also saw a lot of over there was a lot of people smoking over there, and that was something that turned my father off real big time. He did not. We were sitting in a car. It's just myself, my father, and three other people, and it's just 5 people, and my dad and I were sitting at least 5 or 6, between 10 or 11 rows from the nearest people. Okay, and my dad had to get up because the other 3 people were smoking, and if you looked up, there was lingering smoke above that. Just everybody smoked out there, and it drove my dad. My dad just doesn't like like smoke. But that's the other thing. I saw a lot of people smoked over there. Bad for you.
That everybody is super skinny. That's not the case. People are unhealthy and unfit in Europe too. There is an extreme in America that has not yet reached many places in Europe. Where I am in Marbella at the moment, everybody is pretty much super fit and skinny. But that's also because I live really near the beach. However, if you go over to Ireland, where people spend a lot of the year in jumpers and coats and stuff, we don't really care about having 6-pack abs so much, and we just enjoy our Tayto crisps. Just very much depends where you're at in Europe. The next one, and this is actually a huge misconception that I've noticed, maybe something that tech companies lie to Americans about, it's that you guys get tech faster than we do in Europe. And don't
No, I've never heard that one. This is a new one to me. I've never heard anything about that.
Don't get me wrong, there are certain areas where tech is more advanced in America, but in a lot of ways, tech spreads out a lot faster in Europe because we're individual countries.
Yeah, I would think so, because in the United States, well, look, in North America, there's those 3 countries: Canada in the north, Mexico in the south, the United States in the middle. But I wouldn't think that we would get tech faster than you guys would.
It's easy to have a new technological advancement spread out faster. For example, tapping your debit or credit card has been around for...
Yeah, I worked for the bank for 7 years, and what she's talking about there, the chip reader was brand new, I think about 2015, 2016 in the United States. That was in Europe long before it came to the United States. And she's completely correct with this.
Donkey's years in Europe, and that's because it was so easy to get the infrastructure going in smaller places. The last time I was over in America was 2020, and most places did not have tap your card technology. A lot of places in America still take checks, and that's wild to me. If I tried to pay for something with a check in Ireland, it would be like, no. Also, you've probably heard me mention that
About checks, in the United States, if you're above the age, I would say probably 50 to retirement age to, shuffling off the mortal coil, you still use checks. If you're 50 and below, you probably don't. Okay, 50, sorry, 50, you take 50 being the central part going above, they still use checks. There's a lot of people still use checks. If you go below to the younger, don't use checks at all. Don't need them, don't want them, don't care for them.
nearly the entirety of Ireland has Wi-Fi. That's because it's such a small place. It's easy to roll it out en masse. I was really interested when I had knee surgery recently to find that a lot of their medical advancements in terms of technology were above and beyond the American system. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to things like launching astronauts into space, the Americans are up there with it, but smaller things in just general life.
Don't worry, I'm not offended if you guys get things before we do. I'm not offended by it at all, and I don't think most Americans would be offended or like pulling their hair out of their heads going, why are people from Europe getting things faster than we are?
Do tend to happen a lot faster in Europe than they do in America. The next misconception that a lot of Americans have about Europeans is to do with nudity.
I guess we're going to go here in the fact that, I've heard things or read things where people say they have a European idea about nudity. Look, there are people in America who really don't give a rat's rear end if you see them naked or not. There's probably just as many, okay? The difference is you don't see a whole lot of nude beaches in the United States, okay? And you really don't see that in advertising and things like that, okay? In Europe, if I was to generalize nudity, what I saw in Europe was, and I'll see what she has to say after I'm giving my spiel, was I think I got off a train in Frankfurt, and there was a poster of a naked man. Okay, if you went to a bookstore where I went to get the newspapers, the sex magazines were out in the open where anybody could walk up and pick one up. Where in the United States there tend to be restricted, where only certain people, adults, can only go and get them. And but let's see what she has to say about this.
People are a lot more open with their bodies in parts of Europe. You can sunbathe topless around here, it's no problem. You see little kids running around swimming pools without their clothes on, it's not a big deal. Whereas in most parts of America, that sounds insane. Sunbathing topless is usually reserved for special beaches and things like that, maybe your back garden on the QT. That being said, however, people don't just go around taking their clothes off. I've seen that happen in a lot of movies and TV shows, that people from Europe are just totally open with their bodies. You're not going to just strip off your clothes in front of somebody for just a random reason. There are very specific reasons you strip off.
I think it depends on the I'm sure there are places in Europe. I'm sure there are in the beaches of Europe where somebody would walk there and maybe just shut down and get naked just to put on their bathing suit or something like that, or do something like that, and not even give a second thought to it. That just doesn't happen in the United States. If I went to the beach and I brought my bathing suit with me, put my stuff down, and then stripped off naked just to put on my bathing suit, I'm only naked for about 10 seconds before I pull off my clothes and then put on my bathing suit, that would be frowned on. Okay, that would not, people don't do that in the United States, but I'm sure they do it in Europe, or I'm sure that's more acceptable in Europe. But again, there's just as many people in the United States are free with their bodies as there probably are in Europe. There's just, you don't do it out in the open. But there are some clothing optional beaches in the United States, and there are some. Again, it really depends on where you are and the circumstances.
Your clothes in front of somebody. There's always this stereotype, especially about women in movies who are from Europe, that they just take off their clothes.
I could come by your house afterwards. I could change clothes at your place.
It's not a thing. And when women do sunbathe topless here, there is etiquette to it. They don't go around walking up and down the beach like that. They try to be a bit discreet with it, but at the same time, it's not super undercover. And people don't tend to stare at people with their tops off. It's not good etiquette. And the final lie that I think Americans are told about Europe is that everybody eats cuisine all the time.
Nope, they didn't. Not when I was there.
A huge fascination on this channel is to do with food and the differences between food, and there are very marked differences between food in Europe and America, but that's usually on specific times. A lot of the time, we will just throw something frozen into the oven like you do. Some people are cooking more than others, but the French people don't go around eating snails for dinner all the time. Spanish people don't eat fajitas and tapas every single day. And fast food is a thing in Europe. We might have a hamburger and chips for dinner, or chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
I'd say the big difference is when we come to what we call a salad. I've mentioned that before in videos. You guys have a very broad definition of what constitutes a salad.
Well, look, I don't know that the European version of what a salad is necessarily the perfect one. But look, I've seen plenty of salads or what they are. I don't believe everybody in Europe sits down and has a banquet every night for dinner. Okay. Like I said, granted, I was only in Germany. It doesn't make me a European traveler. It doesn't mean I know everything in every nook and cranny of every country. I saw just as many McDonald's over there in Germany as I saw in the United States. There were Burger Kings. There were the big thing they had over there. The thing I saw most of when I was in Germany was Subway sandwich shops. Okay, but a lot of what was over here was over there. Like in movie Pulp Fiction, same thing they got over here. They got over there. It's just it's not too dissimilar. And if they weren't making money over there, then they wouldn't exist. So
just because you throw leaves in, it doesn't make it a salad. It's pasta. You're eating pasta, Fred. When it comes to prepackaged things,
well, if she's talking like a pasta salad or something like that, look, there are different things of salad in the United States. Okay, that is just as green and healthy as what she thinks. But just because a taco salad is can be chips, meat, cheese, and taco sauce on it. No lettuce, no tomatoes, no onions, no peppers, no nothing. And people will still call it a taco salad. Yes, is that a broad definition? Yes, it is. But just for the same reason, there's a lot of other types of salad, like chef salad, Caesar salad, which has all the greens and things that you normally a European would put in a salad. So there's just as much of that stuff in the United States as well. As you can tell, I don't eat a lot of salad.
There is definitely distinctions between the products that we eat and you eat. That is super interesting. I did a video a little while ago with one of my friends from Brazil about the difference between kids' lunch boxes in Brazil versus Ireland, and I found stuff like that really interesting. But on the daily, I would say I think our diets are more similar than we are led to believe. And those are just a couple
I would agree with that.
of lies that I think Americans are told about Europeans. Let me know below if there's anything you think you've been lied to about Europe as an American person, or indeed the other way around. That's it for today's video. See you guys on the other side. Bye.
Yeah, please click like, share, and subscribe for her, and like, share, and subscribe for me. This is 10 lies Americans are told about Europe. And actually, there's only 7 lies here. It's not 10 lies, and I'm not sure how many I would call lies, but they are what they are. Okay. Unless you get on a plane and travel to the United States and see what goes on in the United States, or likewise, if we get on a plane and go over to Europe, and not just, like I said, I was only in Germany, go to France, go to England, go to Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium, go to the Eastern, maybe not Ukraine, but Poland, and places like that, and experience the different cultures and see how they do things over there. I think it benefits everybody. But again, I don't think we're too dissimilar. Okay, we just have different priorities and different things. But that is what it is. I can go on and on, but I'm not going to. Okay, like I said, please click like, share, and subscribe for her, and please click like, share, and subscribe for me. I enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day.